Honor and a privilege to introduce our next keynote speaker. This man is a friend, a colleague, and a mentor of mine. I've known him for about 4 years, and he's one of the most humble people I've ever met. You would never know. You would never know that he played college basketball for 4 years, taught high school, taught at a junior college, has led sport camps around the world. He's an incredible dude, and he's recently the newest member at Duke, a professor at Duke. I'm really excited to hear his talk. Love him like a brother. Give your hands for Martin Smith, Dr. Martin Smith.
University of Puget Sound, Lewis and Clark, Claremont colleges, a bunch of other NAIAs are recruiting me. What are NAIAs? What is an NAIA? I refuse to play at an NAIA. It's not going to work. So I'm a little frustrated, but I'm working on my game. Soon, Colgate calls. D1, great school, upstate New York. I'm growing up in San Diego, California. From San Diego to upstate New York is opposite spectrums of the country. San Diego, we don't have seasons. Colgate, New York, upstate New York is freezing. Then I find out, although it's a great school, they don't offer scholarships. I nix that. I'm not going to Colgate. It's not happening. No way. So I'm still waiting for my offer. Navy calls. Navy, great school at the time. They got a great basketball program. I'm excited. My pops is excited. He's my hero. He says, look, man, Navy's a great school. You go hoop there, get a good education, you get some discipline, become a better man. Cool. Sound good. They call. I talk to them. They start talking about this discipline aspect. So you know you got to get up at 4 something in the morning, shine your boots, lay out your clothes, make your bed. I don't even make my bed when I get up at 8. I don't make my bed, period. I'm not going to Navy. I'm 17 years old. No way. So I'm trying to figure out what is the next move for me. I get accepted to the University of California at Berkeley. I have all these D2s, D3s, NAIAs in California, up all the way up to the Pacific Northwest, willing to let me play for them. But I have good grades. I'm a great player in my mind. So I want to go to the best school athletically and academically. So I say, you know what? I tell myself, I'm going to walk on to the University of California at Berkeley. My mom is from Berkeley, so this is a good look for me. My dad is from San Francisco, so I'm like, cool. So these are the decisions I'm facing at 17 years old, okay? I graduate early May. I have a birthday May 26th. My dad goes into a coma in June. He dies in July. I leave to go to school in August. I get on this campus, and I'm slightly lost. School is hard. Hoops is a big question mark. Dad is dead. What am I going to do? What is the next move? But hoops starts to work out. I try out. I make the team. Next goal for me, you made the team. Now you need to make the travel squad. First year, I make the travel squad. Now you got to get some playing time. I get some playing time. The next goal is I need to start. Sophomore year, I start a few games. Junior year, I'm a starter. I'm playing in the Pac-10. I'm feeling myself. I lead the team in assists. Senior year, I graduate. I'm done. I graduate. But one thing that I always thought about is I felt like I existed within this paradox. This phenomenal paradox. I'm at this school, this elite level institution, UC Berkeley, considered the best public institution in America. The black males on my campus, my black teammates, they don't graduate. We have one of the lowest graduation rates in the nation. So we got these high-level basketball players, high-level students, none of them are graduating. Between the time that I was there, I'd say I played with 22 to 25 different guys in those 4 years. 2 went to the NBA, so don't say the NBA was the issue. A lot of guys played 4 years, but they didn't finish. So I'm trying to figure out what is this phenomenal paradox that I'm existing within, and I said, you know what? I told myself, I want to study these different issues. So come to the University of Texas at Austin, one thing that I find out from my advisor, Dr. Harrison, who mentored me, showed me so much game and understanding about the PhD, is there was a ton of research being done at the collegiate level. There was a little more being done at the high school level, but nothing was being done at the middle school level. So I said, I'm going to get to the root of the problem. I want to check out the middle schools. So I start researching middle school athleticism. I want to research middle school AAU basketball. Okay? So I'm looking at this middle school basketball, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I conduct a year-long case study. There's this mind-body duality that I keep coming up against. Every time I research identity of black males, it's a mind-body duality. Your mind is non-existent, but your athleticism is superior. So then I started thinking, this reminds me a lot of slavery. You're valued for your physical attributes, but you're not valued for your intellectual prowess. You're not even allowed to learn. If you try to learn, you're killed, you're maimed, you're sent further down south. So that's not even a possibility, but physicality, that's cool. Athletic competition, that's cool. Working in the fields, that's cool. So then we jump to 1984. Consider the father of sports sociology, Dr. Harry Edwards. There exists a pervasive belief in the mutual exclusivity of physical and intellectual capability. It should come as no surprise that the shameful situation of the black student athlete has been for so long not only widely tolerated, but expected and institutionally accommodated. 1984. We all work at institutions of higher education, former student athletes. He's saying this in 84. Have things changed? I don't know. I wanted to get to the root of the problem. So I start interviewing middle school athletes. 2015. Half white, half black, 6'1", in the 7th grade, phenomenal basketball player, 4.0 GPA. I'm going to let you read the quote. (2015), middle school. So I started thinking about the similarities between AAU basketball and collegiate basketball. How are they similar? They're both commercialized. Shoe contracts. You pay to go to these tournaments. You pay to play in the tournament. The coaches are paid. Everybody's getting paid. Who's not getting paid? Who's not getting paid? The athletes. There's all these different similarities between the two. And to me, it's so interesting. So as I'm studying these youth athletes, conducting focus group interviews, individual interviews, I'm bringing them on to college campuses, they're sitting in on college lectures, I'm looking at their report cards, I'm running their basketball practices, I'm hanging out with them, I'm interviewing their uncles, their parents, their brothers, them. One thing that I found out from these middle schoolers in 7th grade, they said nobody notices their grades unless they're in close proximity to a 70 average. Because if they hit that 70 average, they're academically ineligible, automatically deemed. But there were kids in my study who had straight A's, 90 averages, 95. Nobody noticed it. But as soon as they fall below that 70 average, and that brings us back to Dr. Harry Edwards' quote, we are conditioning, we're propagating academic inferiority and mediocrity. Because we stress this excellence on the field, but in the classroom, mediocrity, it's okay. So then we look at the coach's influence. What is the coach's role? What are they doing? I say it's a missed opportunity. It's a missed influence. I'll let you read the first quote. 7th grader. The 7th graders in my study said the only person who was second to their parents were their coaches. We often think the peer influence is greater. From research, it says peer influence starts to pick up in high school and after high school. But in middle school, it is your parents and your coaches. They said the coaches didn't care anything about their grades, anything. They said, now, if you have to miss a tournament because you're going to be academically ineligible or you're deemed ineligible, whether for your school team or your parents pull you from the AAU team, then the coaches get on you. So once again, we're conditioning this academic mediocrity. But also in conducting my study, I found some new narratives. Some of the parents in the study were using sport to develop their kids in other ways. They explained to me, you know, my kids, they have it a lot easier than I did. I came up rougher, I came up in a rougher area. I use sport to develop them holistically. I want to see how they respond to adversity. I want to use this intentionally and proactively to develop their character. So then you have some parents who are saying, we put them in sports for these different reasons, and it is to develop them. Okay? So we're working on developing our young men. We're thinking about how sport can work for them. And you have all these different issues. And I'm seeing that middle school athletics, middle school AAU is mirroring intercollegiate athletics. And that's problematic because everybody in this room knows all the problems with intercollegiate athletics where our student athletes aren't graduating. They're treated as a means to an end and not an end in itself. I'm going to say that again. You follow me. They're treated as a means to an end and not an end in themselves. So we're not trying to develop them as a whole person. We're using them to get money out of them. And I'll even say an elephant in this room, and I hope it makes you uncomfortable. We kind of been preaching to the choir in here, but the majority of us in this room, our jobs are contingent on athletes' labor too. Our research too. So what are you doing for these athletes that you're studying and that you're serving? Or you're writing about? Do you really interact with them? Do you really build them up? Do you really put them in positions to succeed? Because we benefit off their labor too. And what do they get if they're just commercialized and we just treat them as a means to an end and not an end in themselves? So I'm at Duke University. Devin, thank you for the wonderful introduction, man. Appreciate that. Finished my first semester. In one of my classes, I have a student athlete. Phenomenal student athlete. Phenomenal. Track and field. Student teacher. And takes a full load of classes. So every morning, she goes to a high school. She teaches 4 classes at a high school. She goes to practice. Then she takes night classes. Okay? She's doing this. She's in my class. Highest grade in my class. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Semester's over, she gets an A. She says, Dr. Smith, can you write me a letter of recommendation? I'm thinking about going to grad school. I think I'm going to scratch this teaching, this student teaching. It's not probably for me, even though she did a great job. So I'm like, okay, well, where are you thinking about going? She mentions the school. I said, of course, I can write you a letter of recommendation, but send me your resume so I can speak to your credentials and your past successes, and I can really write about you. And she tells me, you know, I don't have anything. I don't have any internships. I don't have any research. I don't have any publications. I have no experience. I can shot put really far. I go to practice every day. I said, wait, but you're phenomenal. You go to class every day. You make these great marks. You student teach. You lift weights. You're doing more than the average person does in one day than they do in a week. So I'm looking at her and I'm saying, wow. She did everything right. 4 years. She's going to graduate. But she has nothing to put on her resume. So what kind of disservice have we done to her? Okay? She has nothing for a resume. So I'm going to tell you this. She graduated, but she was not educated. Graduated, but not educated. You hear me? So she does everything right. We tell our student athletes, go to class, make good grades, show up on time, graduate. She does that, but then where does she go? This is a white female. This is a white female. So we've been talking about black men, and we said we got to talk about black women. My research deals with black men, so that's what I'm going to talk about. If you can imagine this happens to a white female, what do you think has happened to the brothers on these campuses? They stand out. They're taller than everybody. They're either bigger than everybody. They speak a different dialect most of the time. People automatically assume they shouldn't be on the campus. Why are you here? You must have had preferential treatment. You can't exist in this classroom. So we oscillate between this existence of where do I belong? What world do I live in? And then we graduate these students and they have nothing, even the ones who did the right things. So I'll leave you with this, and this is my charge for everybody in this room, because everybody is here. They're saying they're trying to gather new information. I'm going to bring it back to my university. I want to do this. I want to do that, whether you're from the NCAA, athletic administration, academic advising, professors. What new pathways are you creating? Are your student athletes just graduating because you did your job? They're a means to an end. You're not treating them like an end in themselves. Did they get an internship? Did you allow them to get an internship? Did you put them in a position to get an internship? Did they publish a paper? Are they public speaking? Yeah, you could program at them all day and put them in programs and speak at them. But what do they have to put on their resume? Have they studied abroad? How many administrators are here? How many of y'all shut down study abroad? How many at your university have black males who are playing basketball and football who have studied abroad? Black women studied abroad, published a paper. How many of y'all? Because if not, then I say you treat them as a means to an end too. It's not an end in itself. So my question is, what are you going to do? Means to an end or an end? That's my question.
I knew my man wasn't going to disappoint. Did he not? Can we give him another round of applause, please? All right, so we got enough time for 2 questions. I seen your hand first, and I seen your hand second.
I appreciate this focus on the younger age group. That is where it needs to start. And what would you tell a public school district that is interested in the holistic development of their student athletes?
I would start off by saying that the academic standards have to be set high, but it has to be coming from the right people. So you have to put the coaches in a position and hold the coaches accountable to not only, let's say, emphasize academic success, but they need to celebrate it. So if it's coming from the coaches, because a lot of times we talk bad about parents, but from my studies, all the parents were very high on academics, and they pushed the academics. But honestly, it was everybody else who was happy with mediocrity. So putting those programs in place, and then also alternate things in terms of the academics are great. We want to hit on the academics, but just like I spoke on the collegiate athletics, what are these alternate pathways? What are these different pathways?
So Martin, I just want to interject.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic question. I went to Urban League.
Yeah.
And you got to look for outside partners to come into your university or middle school or high school. Because as you know, school districts, they got all kind of pressures. Teachers, they overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So the path whole no jobs, no resume, all this stuff. Look, you all are fighting every day to stay at Duke,
Yeah.
to stay at whatever campus. You gotta have people from corporate America, people who have done internships in your class, in front of your students,
Right.
and collaborate with us to help get them to graduate.
Right.
Instead of, or educate instead of graduate.
Right.
And young man next to you, you in Austin?
I plan to come back.
Well, even if you're not, I want to talk to you. I gotta get over with. I wanna talk to you.
Well, I want to respond to that one really quickly. We have these programs, or we say at the university that we need more than a resume, Teddy. So, but my thing is this: athletic programs take so much of the student athlete's time, as we all know in this room. What are we doing to put them in a position to do something else? Because I could speak to my own experience as a student athlete. There's many times I wanted to go to a seminar. Somebody came to campus to speak, and I wanted to do it. We've had student athletes before I left UT who we wanted to bring on study abroad projects. Do they go? Have they went? And so those are the things that you would put on a resume, but just the athletic slave complex doesn't allow it.
I want to answer the question. I apologize.
No,
to address your question, so I mentored a couple Eastside School, Martin Middle School, and Manor Middle School last year before I went to grad school. And my experience, the principal there told me, like, I need what you're wanting to do, this program that you want to start, because, like Dr. Smith said, was like, public schools are kind of have their hands tied. Like, they kind of can't do much. They have to abide by academic regulations and so forth. I believe academics is not the same thing as education. But that being said, also, like, we can't necessarily change the teachers who are going to be teaching it. So it does take an outside curriculum or outside program to make that impact for them. So just wanted to.
Yeah, so my name is Ebony Allen. I'm a PhD student at Rice, and my interest is in Black masculinity among Black male athletes. And so I'm really, I hadn't thought about like the AAU level or like middle school or anything like that, but maybe you all could speak to your own experiences, but how you made the transition from being a student athlete to focusing primarily on academia, and just what you consider about your own masculinity and how you kind of thought about that or processed that or negotiated it as you I guess left, the athletic realm and moved in and transitioned into academia.
That's a great question. I often think about when I finished playing basketball at my undergraduate institution. I didn't have the opportunity to go to the NBA, but I had the opportunity to play semi-pro in the States and go overseas. And I decided to pursue my master's. And I come from a family of athletes. You're going to see some of my cousins on a panel after me up here who all played Division I athletics as well. And everybody outside of my family was telling me, you have to keep playing. And I had a master's that was going to be paid for by the University of California at Berkeley. But everybody told me, you have to keep playing, you have to keep playing, you have to keep playing. And I said, why? Even after I finished that, I worked for 4 years, and people would see me and say, oh, you're still in shape, you play in men's leagues, you should still keep playing. And I said, well, I'm moving to Texas because I'm going to go pursue my PhD. And they said, you're about 26, you got one more run in you to play pro ball. Don't give it up. And I'm like, I have the opportunity to get a PhD that is most likely going to be paid for, but you're telling me I need to play basketball. Is that all that I'm good for? And now I come from a family of athletes where people have made their livings playing the game, but still everybody wanted to pigeonhole me, even when I showed talent in other areas. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to study this stuff, because I'm saying if me as a 25, 26-year-old black male with a master's degree from UC Berkeley is going to get his PhD and people can't even see me doing that and keep questioning me whether I should be doing it, what do they do to these young kids? Yeah.
So again, let's thank our panelists. All right, we're going to give you about a 2-minute